Welcome back to the Rosy Pear, and today we are continuing with some r/writing prompts. Don't forget, guys, you have to like, comment, and subscribe at the end of the video, or else I won't know you guys like what I'm doing. And if you do, then I might be able to do something special in the next video to show you guys how much I appreciate you watching. Water world. The deeper you dive, the bigger the creatures become. The sub creaked and groaned to the increasing pressure, the metal protesting as we dove deeper and deeper into the water. My ears popped one after the other as I watched the depth counter increase its numbers until it finally stopped. 35,000 feet below, the captain announced. Any further, the sub might actually get crushed. Time to try out that new mini you got, Doc. I sighed quietly at the pet name and turned toward the airlock, leading my team of 3 to the mini-sub, ironically shaped like a Mini Cooper. Candy Sweets Johnson went in first, our pilot for this underwater flight. Then went Kenneth Kid Kraft, our marine biologist to document what we may see. And finally me, the creator of this bucket of bolts that we hoped would take us safely where no man or woman has dared to go. Down. Time to make history, kid, I said, smiling at the young man, fresh out of school and ready to make his first mark. Did you bring your coloring pencils? Doc, this is a breakthrough for my field, and while I'm honored you decided to let me come along, please tone down the age jokes, he replied, clutching the strap of his shoulder bag tighter to his chest. Yep, he brought 'em, I thought, chuckling to myself and glanced over to Johnson. How's your numbers, Sweets? She started rattling off numbers and information about how the sub was, but once she saw my eyes glaze over, she finished with, Everything's great, Doc, purring like a kitten. Was that so hard, Sweets? Let me know, simply, if we should get worried. Kid, keep an eye out that window. Sweets, begin descent. The sub released the mini. We began our dive into the darkness, into the deep, into the unknown. I've been spending too much time with my niece. The floodlights flicked on as our descent counted. 40,000 feet, 50,000 feet, 60,000 feet. I watched the gauges, the counters, my life's work chugging along like a finely tuned instrument. Hopefully it stays that way till we come back up. I took a minute to check on Johnson, her eyes scanning the control panel a mile a minute, taking in information faster than she could recite it. She's a competent pilot. She does her job, keeps her head, and when the chips are down, she does what's needed to keep everyone safe. Kraft was gazing out the porthole, writing out in shorthand description and sketching out anything and everything that might pass our window. I hadn't worked with Kraft long, but what I learned about him is he's detail-oriented, thorough, and capable. He's young, but he works like he's been around. Good influence, or his generation. Kraft suddenly gasped and pointed with his pencil out the window. What was that? I looked out the window, gazing at the darkness around us. What did you see, kid? It looked like, I don't know, some kind of anglerfish? That's not unusual, kid. You've seen Finding Nemo. Those things are everywhere down here. But Doc, the thing was huge, almost as big as the sub. The kid looked petrified, a face I've never seen from him. Even when I watched him in a shark cage surrounded in chum with a broken, loose door. Keep calm, kid. We're safe in here. Even I knew I was being hopeful, keeping spirits up. But even I was nervous having heard that. I've seen Finding Nemo. Those things are ugly and scary. Like Leatherface and Hellraiser had a baby and gave it to the nun from Nun. Kraft nodded at my false enthusiasm and looked back out the window, back to his documentation. I left him to his work and leaned down to Johnson, whispering to her alone in this echo chamber. Let me know what you see. If anything, even a speck crossing the bubble, let me know." "You got it, Doc," she replied quietly, slowing our descent. "Where's the ground out here?" she asked loudly. "If we keep falling, I'm going to get vertigo." "You can find it, sweets. You found a way through a hurricane to ride the eye to a safe landing spot. You'll find the ground." "There, it's back!" Kraft yelled. I ran back to the porthole and, sure enough, following our descent at a steady pace, was an enormous eye staring back at the kid and I. "What is that, Doc?" he asked, scribbling in his book without looking down. "You're the scientist, kid. What is it?" "The structure and coloring says anglerfish, but the size says beluga whale. No history says anglerfish get that big." "Well, no man has ever been this far down," Johnson added. "Maybe something growing down here that the fish eat that makes them grow bigger. Evolution by addition and all that." "When did you get smart, sweets?" Kraft asked, staring at the large eye staring back at us. She stopped the descent and turned to look around the bubble, watching the angler's glowing light sway in the current. We all jumped as the light and eye suddenly dragged backward out of our view, replaced by a slowly creeping fog of red and chunks of something. "Kid?" I whispered. "Yeah, Doc?" he replied. "What's an anglerfish's natural predators? Man, octopus, other anglers?" "Sweets, can you turn us?" "Turning port side." The Mini turned slowly, the fog of red increasing until we saw the angler's head floating behind us, bits of flesh and meat slowly flaking away with the current. We all stared, wide-eyed, at the floating decapitation, Kraft's pencil flying over his booklet as he drew out what we were seeing. An enormous tentacle reached out, wrapped around the loose head, and pulled it away from our view to starboard. We all flashed our gaze to the bubble and saw the largest, most terrifying-looking octopus chomping down on the morsel like the happiest puppy receiving its first treat. "Sweets, think it's time to head out, huh?" I asked. "Heading out, Doc," she replied, moving to the driver's seat, but a large clang knocked us all to the floor before any of us could move. "What the hell was that, Johnson?" I yelled, glaring at the small woman on the floor with us. I knew it wasn't her fault, but I needed someone to yell at, and there was no kitchen sink in this tub. "I don't know, Doc. It came from our port side." "Well, get us the hell out of here." I looked over at Kraft and helped him to his knees. "You okay, kid?" I asked softer, steadying us both against a wall. "What happened, Doc?" he asked deliriously, as Johnson strapped herself into her chair. "Just a little bump in the road, kid. Where are we on leaving, sweets?" "Making sure there's gas in the car, Doc," she replied, following my joke, and painfully starting our ascent. "Just gotta ease her out on the highway." "Screw easing," Kraft interjected. "Floor it." "Flooring it," Johnson parroted and sped up the ascent slowly. Kraft and I peered back out the window to see the octopus starting after us, slowly, painfully getting closer to the Mini as we rose closer to the surface. "Sweets!" I drew out her name slightly, hinting at a sense of urgency. I'm going. The Mini groaned in protest as the speed picked up slightly and suddenly halted with a crash. "What the Sam Hill was that?" Kraft and I looked out the bubble, craning our necks to see a white figure scraping above us. "A manta ray," Kraft whispered. "But it's huge." The octopus passed us completely and wrapped itself around the creature, suddenly locked in a brutal combat. "Sweets!" I yelled. "Get us out of here." "I can't, Doc. This thing's only built to go up and down. We've got the down, and we can't go up without going through them." "What about the emergency procedure?" Kraft asked. "It's basically an air-filled raft," Johnson explained. It'll propel us up to the surface faster than the engines will, but it's still a straight shot. We won't go around anything. We watch the octopus and Ray spin and toss each other in the water above us. When we get a clear spot, I'll hit the emergency procedure and we'll rocket to the surface. We watched with bated breath at the brawl above us, the whipping tail, tentacles wrapping and spasming, a beak clamped on fins, blood seeping out of wounds. It was captivating and horrifying. I heard Kraft's pencil flying over his papers, scribbling rather than delicately sketching the sight above us. Johnson's hand hovered over the switch for the emergency procedure, ready to send us up at a moment's notice. But that moment never came as the sub turned slowly as we fell upward, landing flat on our backs on the roof. We all gazed back out the window, starting to see double, as a large shark barreled past us and headed toward the quarreling octopus and Ray. A megalodon? Kraft wheezed, disbelief written all over his face. But they're extinct. Then what's that? I asked, pointing at where I thought the bubble was. Sweets, where are we on leaving? You want to try getting through a shark, an octopus, and a manta ray? You start swimming. Otherwise, we're waiting for the safety. Well, we can't just stay here, Kraft whimpered, that look of fear back on his face. Can we call the sub? Maybe have them send someone down to get us? The Mini is the only one, and the sub can't go any lower than it is, Johnson explained. Relax, kid. We're gonna be fine. I wish she hadn't said that, because as soon as the words leapt her lips, we all tumbled again, tossed to the side by the shark's tail, and slammed into the trench wall, denting the wall inward. Thankfully not enough to ruin the integrity of the hull, but enough to cause worry. Oh God, we're gonna die down here, Kraft cried, tears forming in his eyes. I don't want to die, Doc. Kid, we're not gonna die, I yelled back, trying to stay calm myself. Sweets, you okay? I'm here, Doc, she sputtered. In spirit only, though. Can your spirit engage the airlift? I asked, leaning against the wall. Or maybe the floor. Hell, I could be against the ceiling for all I know. We're against a wall, Doc. If I lift us out, we could roll against the rock until we're concussed. And if we manage to get off the rock, we could end up between teeth and beak up there. I'll take the roll. Kid, get strapped in. Sweets, get that switch flipped and us up there this second. Without a response, we all found our designated seats and struggled to strap ourselves in as Johnson settled herself in. Brace for tumble, she announced, flipped the switch and gripped the armrests, digging her nails into the plastic for stability. Kraft snapped his belts on, tightened them uncomfortably, and closed his eyes, whimpering out a prayer. The sub suddenly rolled against the rock wall, climbing up and up toward the fighting monstrous creatures. The crashing was deafening. The bubble scratched against the rock, and the sub rolled in every direction, forward, backward, to the left, and to the right. It felt like a roller coaster, but with bigger threat of death and/or danger. It felt like hours as we were tossed in every direction known to man, and even a few unknown, as we rose higher and broke the surface. We were all hanging from the ceiling. The sub broke the surface upside down. The hull was dented, some areas dripped cold water, and the air raft was slowly leaking air, but we were out of the water and out of danger. You got your little drawings, Kraft? I asked shakily. A loud thump pulled my attention toward that poor kid. He unclipped himself and fell to the ceiling, shakily standing and holding his shoulder bag like a lifeline. I got him, Doc. I like the way the actual story sounds like a status report of things that happened while they were under the water, whereas the dialogue still continues on with that sort of buddy cop feel where they refer to each other as kids, Sweets, and Doc. It's kind of cute, and the fact that Sweets is just constantly like in business mode. There's no fun going on with her, but she's still able to catch the jokes and read social cues. She's very adaptive. And the kid, Kraft, is just, he seems mature for his age that they haven't actually announced. Like they said he was fresh out of school and this was his first adventure or whatever. And he was just so excited to go down, and this was a breakthrough in his field. And he was so excited, but they still make sure to keep him at his level by saying, make sure you got your coloring books or your coloring pages and stuff like that. It's like it kind of sounds like my generation, where everyone just assumes that we're spoiled, rotten little kids. But some kids in my generation are still the hard workers that their parents expected them to be. And here I am making videos on YouTube. Such a hard worker. But it's an amazing story, and it was longer than I expected it to be. I almost thought that this was going to have to be 2 videos, but then I noticed how much shorter the second part was. So I figured, yeah, you know what? Just throw it in together. It'll all be good. Besides, something like this, you can't just stop it at we're gonna die. I don't want to die. You can't just stop it there. You gotta keep going. Stories like that just grip onto you. There's no way to stop. You have to finish the story, or else you don't know what's going to happen, and it's going to drive you insane. But that's going to be it from me today, guys. If you absolutely love the video, don't forget to like down below. Don't forget to leave a comment telling me what I could do better, what your idea for the story is, or what you would want to do. And don't forget to subscribe and share the video around, because we're trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the year. We don't have that much time left. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!